Hey, this is Ariel, and you're listening to the Cyber PR Music Podcast, Dispatches for the New Music Business. Welcome to episode 1 of the Cyber PR Music Podcast. It's been years since I've had my own podcast, and I'm really excited to be getting back into the conversation. Of course, there's so many wonderful music and music industry podcasts out there. I've been thinking a lot about what it is I'd like to add to this conversation. And I decided that I want to do a combination of things. So this is going to be a little combo of 2 things. The first thing is going to be me presenting articles and pieces of my books and ebooks and observations. And then in between that, I'm going to be interviewing some of my favorite people and people that are doing really interesting things for artists, having the usual conversations that I love to have around marketing, PR, and getting ahead in this new music business. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ariel Hyatt, and for the last 23 years, I've run an independent PR firm, which then morphed into a digital PR firm, which then morphed into a marketing agency. And along those 23 years, I also had a booking agency, a street team company. I've tried a lot of different things to help artists get ahead. And the one thing that I've learned is for any of us to succeed in this day and age, having a hyphenated career and understanding how to do a lot of things, whether you're on the artist or the industry side, is absolutely essential. So to kick off today's episode, I wanted to talk about something that is fundamental and a basic step that I see a lot of artists who call me frustrated and upset seem to somehow miss or skip. And that's something that, unless you have, it's going to be really, really hard to find your true north in the music business. And that is setting goals. The real problem is so few of us actually have goals, real long-term goals written out with timelines attached to them. And that's when it can get really messy. So there's 2 different types of goals. There's long-term goals, which is about thinking about like when you're lying on your deathbed, did you do the thing that you really wanted to do with your creative life or your life in general? And then there's the short-term goals, which have to do a lot with metrics and releasing the next thing, taking the next tour, the steps that you take to get to that larger picture goal. And both of them are important. So today I want to highlight an article that I've written and rewritten many times over, and it's been one of my most successful articles throughout the years, called, of course, The Musician's Guide to Setting and Achieving Goals. And I usually repost this right around the end of the year when people are making New Year's resolutions. But that's not necessarily always the best time to do it, because I think we've conditioned ourselves to make goals during the new year. And then unfortunately, very few of us follow through with them. So goal setting is like drawing a map for yourself. You first want to ask yourself, is now the time I want to make a difference for my musical career? And if so, what difference and how? You want to think of goal setting as if you were driving in a foreign place. You wouldn't just get where you expect to go by jumping in a car and randomly driving around. Without a clear set of directions, you'd probably want a map. I've also included some focus areas for the shorter term goals. But where you want to start with goal setting is the really big picture goals. What does your music want to do in the world? What's your intention for it? Why are you making it in the first place? Is it because you want to touch and inspire people? Is it because you want to have a great time and party? Is it because you want to tour the world with it? Is it because you want to affect some sort of deep change with a musical message? All of these things should be taken into consideration about why you're even doing music in the first place. Also, goals and metrics are 2 very separate things. I talk to a lot of artists who say things like, I want 1 million streams on Spotify. But then when I say, okay, why do you want 1,000,000 streams on Spotify? They don't always have an answer. That's a metric, not a goal. So if you want 1,000,000 streams on Spotify because your intention is you'd like to get the attention of a record label to sign you, and you think that that's one strategy, and certainly it is, then that becomes a goal. So just be mindful of when you're putting metrics down, which are part of goals, and when you're putting goals down. So after you start with some of your larger goals, you want to start creating some order and write down your focus areas. Here's a list of some areas that you could focus on, and just skip the ones that are not for you, and write out each focus area goal. I always like to start with the top level stuff, so I start with branding. Do you have goals around your look, the way you want to make people feel when they see your brand, your image, your health, the way you dress, your pitch, your bio, your story, unveiling your story? All of this has to do with your branding. Marketing. Do you have goals for marketing in the next 3, 6, 9 months? Are you going to learn a new skill around marketing, or research hiring a company to help you, or enlist a friend? What do you want to do for your overall marketing plan? Because certainly just putting music up and hoping someone finds it is not a plan. Newsletter. Are you going to build one? Do you already have one? Are you going to make it better? Are you going to start getting vigilant about sending it out 12 times a year or 24 times a year? Your website. How does it look? Do you need a new one? Do you need an upgrade? Your social media. When was the last time you really took stock around your social media and set goals around how many people you want to have following you, or how many times a week you want to be posting, or how many hours a week you want to actually spend on it? PR. Getting covered on blogs or podcasts or online outlets. Do you want to get people talking about your music in the music PR world? Booking. Do you have a vision for touring or local gigs, or maybe a combination of both? Downloads or selling some sort of merch. What will you be releasing? What are you distributing? What's your goal number there? Are you going to look into licensing? Expanding your fan base and maintaining it. Have you set goals around how many people you want to have following you by the end of next month, by the end of next year? These are some great areas where you could really begin to put some pen to paper and write down what you see for yourself. Or maybe you're not even in the marketing world and you want to do some writing and recording. Do you need a new instrument? Do you need to figure out what studio to go to? Do you need to figure out some new band members? Do you need to add people to your team? Maybe an intern to help you, or a virtual assistant, or a marketing agency of some sort. Time. How are you going to manage and balance your time to do all of this? And then finally, I deeply recommend that you make a goal area around money. How much money are you willing to invest in your career? And how much money would you like to see coming back to you? These are all great focus areas. Next, you want to write each goal in a very specific way, and this is step 2 of goal setting. So each goal should be written as if it's already happening. In other words, you want to use the present tense. Like, I am selling out 10 local venues within a 100-mile radius of my home every 3 months. You want to give a date for when you want to achieve each of these goals. And your goals should involve pretty much you and only you. They can't involve being relied on someone else, because that's when you can get into trouble with goal setting. So if you do have a goal like, I want to get a booking agent, or I want to get a PR firm, or I want to get someone else on board, like a record label, just be mindful that your goals should involve bringing those people to the table, but not necessarily getting signed, for example. Be pragmatic. Make sure the goals that you're setting for yourself are realistic and achievable. This is why you want to start with small goals and put timelines on each and every single one. To rev up your momentum, start with ones that you can do literally within the next couple of days and get them checked off. And then that will help you build up your confidence. One of the reasons people don't achieve their goals is because they set really lofty ones and they have no idea how to get there. For example, you could set a goal like, I want to get 10,000 streams on my newest Spotify release. Well, that's a big number. But if you think about it, that's 27 streams a day. So if you take a big step back and then break it down and ask yourself, how would I get 27 people to stream my music tomorrow or next week? That's a first step in the journey of getting to the 10,000 streams. So when you can think like that, it makes it so much easier to get to the goal. So you want to start with an easy one and get it done. Choose something like organizing a cluttered studio, cleaning off your desk, deleting unwanted files from your computer, recycling last year's unwanted papers. This whole Marie Kondo thing that's going around now, this massive craze of getting rid of things that don't spark joy, is a great way to begin to clear the path so that you can actually get things done. When your house is cluttered and your room is cluttered and your studio is cluttered, and many of us record in our homes, it makes it really hard to even make room for new visions. So choose a goal like, I will go through my closets and throw out whatever doesn't spark joy. Or if writing comes easy to you, maybe you choose something like writing a new song, because that's an inspiring way to start. Now that you've achieved a goal within the first couple of weeks, the rest of your goal setting will seem a lot more attainable. If you've already made an achievement, your brain begins to understand success. One of my favorite teachers throughout my life, his name is T. Harv Eker, had a technique that I learned, and it's about writing down 5 successes every single day. And this is a great way to move goals forward. So at the end of the day, when you're getting into bed, and I did this for years and still do it, keep a notebook next to the bed, and I write down 5 successes that I had. Small ones like I emptied the dishwashers, large ones like I spoke at a conference, and anything you can think of. And what this does is it teaches your brain again to understand that you're doing things, you're moving things forward. You could write anything down, call the club for a potential booking, ask 25 friends to follow me on Spotify, went to the gym, ate healthy, anything like that. So the next technique for achieving goals is you want to make lists to stay on track. Make daily lists of what you need to do to get your goals met, and make them the night before so you're not fully overwhelmed. You wake up and get into the day. One of my favorite things to do is do the hardest thing on your list every morning. Don't procrastinate. By getting the most daunting task done first, everything else will seem like a breeze. Delegate the little activities that waste your valuable time to other people. It's another great way to keep your goals on track. And don't overload yourself. Studies show that you can only do about 6 tasks in a day. So if you make a list of 20 things, you're definitely not going to get them all done. And if you're juggling a day job, maybe just 1 or 2 things a day will make the most sense. Finally, you want to make sure that you set aside time to actually achieve your goals. They won't happen unless you schedule the time to make sure that they do. So that means getting up maybe an hour earlier, or taking time on a weekend or a day off, and really focusing on moving things ahead. My final note about goal setting, and something that I've read over and over, that writing your goals down with pen and paper as opposed to keeping them on a computer is a really effective way of making a contract between your hand, the paper, and your brain. So for those of you that are out of practice with goal setting, I highly recommend that you take out a pen and paper, write down a few of your big, lofty career music goals, and then 3 or 4 of the smaller ones. And tonight, write down 5 successes. I hope that this goal setting changes the way that you think about your career. And I hope this first episode of this new podcast motivates you to want to write down your goals and start achieving them as soon as possible. The world deserves to hear your music. If you're interested in focusing on a specific area you may be struggling with in your music career, I encourage you to join me and hundreds of other musicians in Cyber PR Labs. Labs are 3-part masterclasses that include videos and action sheets delivered on a private website. To build them, I called my most trusted colleagues in the industry and asked them to help me put together a targeted and useful curriculum. And each month, I roll out a new lab. Some of the most popular labs include Supercharge Your PR, Release Music with Ease, Mobilize Your Fan Army, Booking Successful Shows and Tours, and How to Get Sponsored. To learn more, visit cyberprmusic.com, click on Services and Labs, and I'd love to see you in one of the courses. For more information and show notes, please visit us at cyberprmusic.com.